So I'm really happy to introduce Glenn to you this morning. He has this amazing new book, Original Love, and it's part of it's in 3 parts. This is the 3rd part of a series. He's written about things that are dear to the hearts of all of us. He wrote Original Thinking, and then Original Politics, and now Original Love. He's a Nautilus Award winner for those of us in the book world. That is a really big deal. He's on the faculty of CIIS, where my teacher and mentor, Angeles Arian, spoke. And he told me this morning he's 25% Basque. Angeles was Basque, grew up cross-culturally. I don't think you can be in that world without a huge appreciation for the earth and all that she gives us and brings us. Glenn's quite a scholar. He's in think tanks. He runs big deals where people get together around big ideas. But what I love about him is he may be a big thinker, but he also has a really big heart that he brings to this work that he shares so beautifully and lovingly with any of us with ears to listen. So please join me in welcoming Glenn, and thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Gail. That was really the sweetest introduction. And thank you for invoking Angeles Arian, who is a dear departed elder. And it's true that I'm 25% Basque. My grandmother was Basque and walked 300 miles from a tiny village in the High Pyrenees to Barcelona. And she got a job as a chef's attendant, met an Aragon Spanish man, and that is how my father was born. Wow. And Basque heritage is one that does celebrate the earth. Thank you for mentioning that, and for mentioning dear Angie. We always would bask together in our Basque heritage, so if you'll forgive me. It's a real honor and a blessing to be able to speak about love in a place that puts love in the center of everything you do. So thank you so much for that honor. Love is the most powerful force in the cosmos. The most powerful force in the cosmos. And it's also the most mysterious force. The most mysterious force. If you think you know about love, there's more you can learn. Whatever it is about love, it's bigger. It's bigger than you could possibly even imagine. I am an author about love, but that doesn't make me an authority. Makes me, kind of like, it's kind of weird how those words come together, but it does not make me an authority. Nobody's an authority on love. Nobody. It reminds me of a story that my buddy Dan Moonhook Alford liked to tell. And it was from when he was 10 years old, and he went to his father's workplace. And his father was a longshoresman, and he was working on the California coast among the tall trees. And they spent the morning on a jitney, and they were stacking up logs, and that was great fun for a 10-year-old boy. And then they took their lunch break, and they were overlooking the Pacific Ocean. They were actually dangling their legs over the Pacific Ocean. And this was the first time that young Moonhawk had ever seen the ocean. So he says to his father, "Dad, that sure is a lot of water out there." And his father says, "Yep, And that's just the top of it. So and that, Moonhawk liked to tell that story to illustrate the depth of Native American wisdom, and I agree with him there. Native American wisdom is deep beyond knowing, but so is love. So is love. We can never fully know everything there is to know about love. We just can't do it. But love, I know this. When I feel love, my heart expands. It expands. I feel bigger. And just like Gail's beautiful prayer, you begin to connect with a larger force, a much larger force beyond what we think of as love. But love has always been here. I consider it an original force, an original vibration. It's always been here. It always will be here. You don't have to invent love. We say we're going to go make love. You don't have to make love. It's already here. It's already here. And it's already surrounding you. It's already enfolding you. It's already immersing you. You were born from love. You return to love. When you go to the spirit world, that's a place of love. Love is beyond knowing. It's beyond knowing, but it's always been here. There's a story from Empedocles a long time ago. The Greek Empedocles spoke about the origin of the cosmos, and he spoke about the 4 roots. And the 4 roots he named after gods and goddesses: Zeus, Hera, Nestis, and Adonis. And he said that when the cosmos was formed, there were these 4 roots, and they were mediated by the forces of love and strife. But when the cosmos was first formed, there was only the 4 roots and love. Love was what kept the elements together. But somehow, and this is important, somehow the universe wasn't fully formed until strife came into the picture. We actually need strife. We need strife. We may not like it when it's happening, but strife is our place of learning. Now, you could name it something else. A lot of indigenous peoples call it flux. And David Bohm, the great physicist, also called it flux. There's something that sets the universe in motion, that vortex of energy. That is important. That is necessary. That's our learning. We make a lot of mistakes in this life, a lot of mistakes. But Bucky Fuller used to say that the kids in school that make the most mistakes, they should get the best grade. Do you know why he said that? Because we learn when we make mistakes. We don't learn if we do things perfectly. We've already learned it. But if we make a mistake, then we learn. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. But the biggest mistake we ever make, and I don't think this probably doesn't include this present company, but the biggest mistake we ever make is when we consider love our own love, our personal love relationships, our family, even our relationships with other human beings. When we consider that to be the whole of love, we're making a big mistake. Love is way beyond that. It's way beyond the human. It includes all of the natural world. It's already there. I think of the mountains as loving the valleys. Think about it. The mountains attract the clouds that bring the rain, and then where does the rain go? It flows into the valley. It flows into the valley. The mountains are actually looking after the valleys. All the waters of the world are in relationship with each other. I learned that from the Hopi. They're all in relationship. The waters in the sky. And Paula Gunn Allen used to tell me, she's originally from Cubero, Laguna Pueblo descent, and Scotch-Irish. But Paula Gunn Allen would say, if you want to find the water in New Mexico, look up. Look up. It's there. It's up in the clouds, particularly in the summertime. And it's true. The waters that are up in the clouds are actually in relationship with the underground waters, the waters underneath the earth. They're all in connection. They're all in love. It's like they're lovers. They're writing letters to each other. They've been separated for too long. When the underground waters are arid, they say, bring the rain, and then they replenish themselves. It's very beautiful. All of this world is full of love. So I want to share next a story. It's an ancient Greek story, but I think it's even older. It's the story of Psyche and Eros. And you may know this story, but you probably haven't had somebody come and tell you the story. It's much nicer to hear a story than it is to read it, perhaps in a book of mythology, like Edith Hamilton, the first mythology book I ever read. Psyche, when Psyche was born, she was so beautiful that the goddess of beauty, Aphrodite, became jealous, offended, maybe even a little alarmed. Who was this mortal? And so she says, I'm going to send my son, Eros, to shoot an arrow into Psyche, because then Psyche will fall in love with the first man she sees, however homely or vile. So Eros is dispatched to do that. But in the meantime, or should I say the kind time, in the meantime, Psyche grows of age, but she attracts no suitors. Apparently, her beauty is so much that she awes, but she doesn't attract. She has no suitors, and her father grows worried. And he says, we have to consult an oracle. So he consults an oracle. And the oracle comes back with the devastating news that Psyche is destined to be the bride of death. Now, the ancient Greeks, they accepted those oracles. And so they dressed Psyche in funereal clothing. Everybody was dressed in a mourning procession, and they walked her up to the highest mountain, and there they expected that she would meet her fate, that she would perhaps jump over the cliff, I don't know, but they thought she was going to die. But that's when Eros intervenes and completely changes her fate. And when Eros first sees Psyche, he is so taken by her beauty that he accidentally pricks himself with one of his own arrows, and he falls head over heels in love with Psyche. And that's when he swoops in, he picks her up, and he takes her away to a palace. Now, this is a make-believe palace. It's a liminal space between the worlds. And the first thing he does is he makes her bed. He lays her down upon the bed. And this is the place where her soul will marinate. This is the place where Eros will come in the dark of night, every night, and make beautiful love to Psyche. Now, Psyche starts to fall in love with Eros, certainly with the erotic aspect of this perfect lover. But she wonders, what does my lover look like? Because Eros forbid her. Eros said, you cannot see me. Because he's a god and she's only a mortal. So he says, you cannot see me. And he only comes in the dark of night. But Psyche is curious. Who is this perfect lover? And her sisters don't help. Her sisters say, you know, this man that's coming to you, he could be a monster. He may be a demon. Actually, he's a daemon. He's a psychopomp of the soul. He's activating the soul of Psyche. But Psyche eventually becomes so curious, she decides to follow her sister's advice, and she lights the lamp. She lights the lamp. And then it's an oil lamp. A drop of oil spills on Eros's face. She sees, first of all, her sisters were wrong. Eros is the most beautiful man. He is a god. He's perfect beyond measurement. But when the drop of oil drops on Eros's face, he awakens and he feels aggrieved. He forbid Psyche to see him. So even though he loves Psyche, he leaves. And this is when the myth becomes interesting because Psyche is completely and totally distraught. She prays to the gods, but they don't want to offend. The gods and goddesses don't want to offend Aphrodite. And so they help her just a little bit, but they don't bring her back to Eros. And that's what she wants desperately. But finally, Aphrodite comes into the picture, and Aphrodite assigns her 4 tasks. I call them the 4 labors of love. And the first task is to separate a giant pile of seeds in an appointed hour. How is she going to do that? She has no way that she can do this. But she prays, and ant nation comes. Ants separate the seeds in the appointed time, and so she succeeds. In the second task, she's supposed to gather the fleece from battering rams who live down by the river. How is she going to do that? Those rams, if you confront them, they're going to attack you. So she has no idea, but she goes to the river, and a reed comes out. A reed speaks to her and tells her what she must do. She must go in the dark of night and go to where the rams have brushed against the trees and the bushes during the day. That's where she can gather the fleece. And she does, and she succeeds. Notice she's succeeding with the help of the natural world. Aphrodite is starting to get impressed, so she gives her an even harder task. She now has to go and gather the waters of life that are on the top of the highest mountain and flow all the way into the underworld. And these waters of life are guarded by dragons. How is she possibly going to gather these waters of life? There's no way. There's no way until she prays, and Zeus sends an eagle. And an eagle offers its services. The eagle says, I can gather the vessel in my talons. I can fly up there. I can fly higher than the gods and goddesses can fly. I can fly there between the dragons, and I'll gather the waters of life. And he does, and he comes back, and she succeeds. So the fourth task, the hardest of all, is she has to gather the beauty jar of Persephone, the queen of the underworld. How is she going to do that? She has no idea. Have you seen the movie Vertigo? She climbs a tower. She's about to hurl herself out of the tower. But then the tower itself speaks to her, and the tower tells her exactly what she must do. She must put 2 coins in her mouth, 2 morsels of bread, 1 in each hand. That's because at the gates of the underworld are guarded by a 3-headed dog, Cerberus. So she puts 1 of the morsels of bread out there. The 3 heads argue over the morsel of bread. She can enter. She saves one morsel of bread for the way out. She has 2 coins in her mouth because there's a ferryman on the way in. You have to give a coin. And on the way out, you also have to give a coin. So she succeeds. She gets all the way. She's also told by the tower that she must not dilly-dally. Must refuse any hospitality from Persephone. If she invites her for dinner, to refuse that. Just stay focused. She gets the beauty ointment. And then she comes back. But the one thing that she doesn't pay attention to, the tower told her, do not open the jar. And that's where she lapses. Her curiosity and perhaps her vanity got the better of her, and she opened the jar. She fell into a death sleep, like Sleeping Beauty or Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. But that's when Eros reconnects. Eros cannot stand to see her die. So Eros comes back, swoops in again, and says, I'm going to take you to Mount Olympus and ask for your hand in marriage. And that's what he does. And he is betrothed to Psyche, who becomes the goddess of soul. She becomes an immortal. She's the goddess of soul, and she's held that title ever since, at least until Aretha Franklin. Anyway, but seriously, the goddess of soul is amazing. So what's the lesson? What's the lesson in this story? And there's so many lessons. It's really a guiding story for our times, Gene Houston would say. You know, we need to cultivate a loving relationship with the entire natural world, just like Gail was praying about. Reciprocity, that's what it's all about. I never say a prayer without making an offering. Make an offering, make a connection. This life, this natural world is loving us so much. It's so amazing that we're here. We're 93 million miles away from the sun, and it's giving us just the right amount of light, warmth, and energy. We are alive because we're breathing in the same air that the ancestors have breathed since time immemorial. We're drinking the same water that the ancestors have been drinking since time immemorial. We're standing upon the same earth since time immemorial. It's still supporting us, still loving us. We're all born in darkness and grow toward the light. We're not so different than a plant. We're born within a womb of our mother, but we're also born within the womb of Mother Earth. We're born within the womb of Mother Earth. And that's where our support is. That's where our support is. And really, I think that to describe love, it's really better, I think, to use the beauty of nature. I think of Rumi, some of the great poems, the Persian poems. Rumi wrote a poem called Opening the Love Window. And it goes like this. He says, at night, I open the window and ask the moon to come and press its face against mine. Breathe into me, close the language door, and open the love window. The moon won't use the door, only the window. And that's what it really is. The moon, this life, it is beautiful. When you feel love, everything is transmuted into beauty. Thank you so much for the blessing of speaking to you here today. And may your community always be blessed with love, community, passion, and compassion for each other. Thank you so much. Much love and blessings to you.